If you're currently running paid ads, but you're struggling to find winning ads on a consistent basis, then this video is for you, because I'm going to break down the 3 steps that help me in my own brands and many other e-commerce brands to scale profitably to 8 figures. And this is the exact system that we use. And it all starts with number 1, research, right? The important principle here is to start from the inside to the outside, right? To go from the inside to the outside. What do I mean by that? I always say to every e-commerce brand that I work with, essentially you're sitting on a pot of gold, meaning you already have existing customers, and they are the fastest way to figure out what is the best way to position your product in the market, right? Because these customers, they came in with a why, right? They wanted to solve, like they have a why they bought your product in the first place. So this is what we ultimately want to find out, right? What is their main motivation? What was their main pain point? And it seems like that our product is solving this pain point, right? So where do you find this information, right? Where do you start? Where do you start with your research? Very simple. You start with the reviews under your products. You go to the customer support, right? So any customer support tickets, Facebook ad comments, Facebook DMs, Instagram comments, Instagram DMs, below your ads, right? Below your organic posts. So this is a very good way to start and to understand who is my potential customer, right? And also what are potential angles or pain points that I could explore. Next thing is sending out a survey. Send out a survey to your existing email list and just ask for a couple of questions, right? Ask, why did you buy my product in the first place? Or why did you buy our product in the first place? Then what is the value that you get from our products? Why is our product different or better than other products that you've tried out before? What are other products or solutions that you've tried before to solve your pain point, right? So those are all important, insights that we will need for all the future steps, and you will see that. I will basically show you how they're interconnected. But this is another great way. Calls. I say this all the time. There's no reason for you not to call your existing clients. There's no good reason for that, right? So do it, right? Pick up the phone, call your best customers, the ones that bought the most, the ones that buy frequently, and try to get on the phone with 10 to 20 people, right? Because this really helps you to understand who are those people? What are their pain points? Why did they come in the first place, right? And then also, what promises did my product fulfill, right? So what are they happy about? This all helps us to understand what are the main motivations, what are the main pain points that we see that people have that already use our products. Because our idea is essentially just to flip this around, right? If you understand your best customers, you can basically just flip this around and attract more of the same people. Because then I know this type of people, they will be a heavy user of my product, right? Because there's a natural match between their pain point, their motivations, and what my product is actually delivering, right? So very, very important principle to start out with. So you start from the inside and go to the outside. Once we've answered this question, why did they buy the product in the first place? Then we can turn our attention towards the market, right? Because ultimately, we are in competition with a lot of other brands, a lot of other, businesses finally, and they're all competing for the same eyeballs, for the same wallets, if you want so. So very important to understand the competition. What is the competition doing? How does the market look like? How sophisticated is the market? What do I mean by that? Sophistication is a very important principle when it comes to understanding the market, right? Is it a very, let's say, uneducated market where there's not a lot of insights or information that people have about a certain product or about a certain solution? Or is it a market where, there's a lot of, people have seen a lot of similar things already, right? Depending on where the market is, like what the market sophistication level is, I have to, advertise in a different way, right? And I have to maybe highlight even more how my product stands out, how my product is different from all the other solutions, right? So this is very important to understand. But here, what do I ask? What are the main competitors? Very, very simple. Who am I competing against? You're always competing against other brands, right? And we're actually competing against other brands in the same auction, right? So it's our job, before we even start like spending a lot of money, producing a lot of content, is to understand what's out there, right? Because this is what we will have to beat ultimately. So one way to look at this is just the ad library. You can use tools like Atria, for example, or Magic Brief, just to understand for my target audience or for my pain points, what are the main competitors? Right? Who is advertising? How are they advertising? What kind of ads are they running? What kind of funnels are they running? Who do they advertise to? Older demographic, younger demographic, right? What are the angles that they use? The pain points? This is all available for basically free, right? So this is information that we have to use. Now, how educated are the customers? As I mentioned, market sophistication, right? So how much do they actually already know about the product, right? Did they try out similar products already? Did they try out similar solutions, right? But they were unsuccessful. All of these things I have to understand, because the more educated the market, the more sophisticated my approach has to be when it comes to the communication in the creative, but then also the communication on the landing pages, right? So if I miss this part, and if I miss the sophistication part and the education part of the market, I can do everything right, but it will not work because it's something that people have seen already, or they're just information missing, okay? Now, how is my solution different and superior? This is a very key question because this is what ultimately will help you convert people, right? We can get people to be we can get their attention, we can get them interested, but this is where we create the desire for our product, right? And this has to be very clear. What is so special about my product? Like, how does my product solve the pain point, maybe in a new way, in a different way than all the other solutions? This is key so that people say, well, I have this pain point. I've tried out a couple of other things already, but this seems different. This seems new. It's like a new mechanism to solve this problem, right? So I'll give it a shot. Very, very important. Okay, once we've done this, we have a clear understanding of what are the main motivations and pain points of our target audience, and also how does the competitive landscape look like? And this brings us to the next step, which is validation. So another key principle that I see, and I help brands basically scale to 8 figures, right? And beyond. Multiple 8 figures then. But mostly e-commerce brands, so all e-commerce brands essentially, I own e-commerce brands by myself that are doing like almost $1 million a month now. And when you look at all of these brands, you realize that the ones that are crushing it are the ones that are respecting this process, right? They're doing the research, they're validating the research, and then they care about volume. So this part in the middle is number one, research is what a lot of people skip, but this is actually the one that hurts you the most, right? So what do I mean by validation? By validation, I mean, we're not just taking whatever we saw here and just jump to conclusions. Okay, this is the kind of person that we're looking for, and this is the kind of communication that is going to work for sure. The reality is we don't know. We just don't know. So things that work for one brand that we see in our competitive research don't have to necessarily work for our brand, our specific case, right? So it's not always the case that you can just take something and all of a sudden it works for you, right? So we have to work with hypotheses. And that's the key thing here. We are forming hypotheses and we're validating them efficiently. So that afterwards we can basically look at a list of hypotheses and say, this is validated, this is neglected, right? And go down the whole list and leave it with like a validated assets that we can then scale. Okay, so this is like a very simple tree that explains very well how you should validate in different phases, in different stages, right? So let's assume you have your product, okay? You know what is your front-end product. I have other videos about this topic and I will do more other videos on that topic. But let's assume you have your front-end offer, right? Which is the main first product that people purchase. This is where you, from your research, we're basically taking the angles / pain points / motivations that we've identified in the research and we're validating them, right? So we're testing them against each other, first of all, to understand what angle actually works for my product in my case, right? Now, once we've done that, and I also have like videos on how to do that more specifically, just very short, what I like to do and what works really, really well across all of the brands is that we're validating this with static ads, right? So very, very simplified process. We don't want to overproduce like a lot of video and wait for it, and it all takes a long time, takes a lot of effort. What we want to do instead is to validate this very efficiently, right? This is the key here. Very efficiently without having to spend a lot of money and wait a long time. So that's why we do this with static ads. And this way you find out, okay, this angle shows the most potential. All right, this is validated. Now you go to the next stage and you figure out, okay, within this angle, what are the creative types that are actually working, right? So this could be UGC, founder ads, static ads, or just simple short product videos, right? And then you produce assets for each of these within this specific angle, not the other angles. They're basically non-existing anymore. You only focus on the one that is pre-validated, and then you do the same thing here, right? So the hypothesis is one of these, like this is something that could work, this is something that could work, this is something that could work, and so on and so forth. Again, I can already make good assumptions on these creative types after I looked at the competition, right? So if I see that basically everybody is doing UGC, it's something that I would definitely consider testing, right? Now, there's value to it if you understand everybody is doing the same thing. How about making something else that goes basically against all of what I see? If I can make that work, that's a competitive advantage, right? So definitely test these 4 different types and styles of creatives. And then again, you will validate, okay, founder ads are working and product videos are working. Great. Okay, let's focus on these. Now, the next thing to validate is what is the right funnel actually for that. And I know we're talking about winning creatives, but this first touch point after the creative, so after somebody clicks on your creative, that first touch point is so important when it comes to the scalability of a funnel. And I've seen it time and time again, you know, having the same exact creatives going to the product page, going to a landing page like a listicle, and you see results like night and day, right? You see that this listicle is actually way more scalable in some cases, right? So that's why I included it here. It's technically not creatives, but it's so, it's so important for a scalable ad creative that this should definitely be one part of the validation process. okay? So let's say you have a set, and most of the times it's a set of creatives types. So it's not just one creative type, but it's just a set of creative types. So you have validated the set of creative types within one specific angle. Then you say, okay, what are different landing spots? I could send them to the product page. I could send them to a listicle, just like a 5 reasons why that explains how this product helps for this pain point. Or I could write an advertorial, right, that is a little bit longer and just, again, it explains basically how this product solves the pain point, right, that I'm talking about in my creatives. So then again, I'm validating all these 3, landing spots, and I see, okay, listicle is working. So now I went through 3 validation phases in a very efficient way. I didn't have to produce hundreds of creatives to find out what is working. I didn't have to produce hundreds of landing pages while, testing multiple angles at the same time. So you see how you can go through such a process very efficiently in like 2 to 3 weeks, right? Depending on your spend level, you can go through it even faster, right? So this is a very, very simple way on how, this is working every single time that we do it, right? And the reason is that we're not like just throwing around our resources, but we're very, very efficient. And at the same time, we're collecting key learnings along the way. Now, one word here on, this validation process that is a little bit advanced, I would say, but still very, very important when it comes to the scalability of the whole thing, right? And also just understanding, what actually has the highest leverage in the whole funnel. So I'm talking about awareness stages. Awareness stages are, most of you will be familiar with that, but essentially like 5 different awareness stages, right? Either somebody's fully aware, knows about the price, knows about the offer, and basically buys. Then you have someone that is product aware, so this is a person that knows your product but hasn't bought it yet. Then you have someone that is solution aware, that knows like what kind of solutions exist or what types of solution exist, right? And but doesn't know your product yet specifically. And then there are people that are problem aware. So they are aware of their problem, but they're not fully aware of what the solutions could be to the problem. And then you have people that are unaware, right? So they have that problem, but they don't really know that they have the problem. Now, the higher up you go, the colder the audience, the bigger the market, right? So the harder you go, the more up you go, the harder it is also to convert people if you don't have the right process. Right? So that's why we go from the bottom upwards. But this is something to also validate and understand, like which awareness stage am I actually targeting, right? And do I need to do this validation process for a higher awareness stage again, right? Because, having product aware ads is very easy. Most of you have them. But those are not the ones that are enabling you to scale, your budgets and 10x your business, right? Solution aware ads, this is something that can work especially in markets that are already developed, right? Where people tried out a lot of solutions and you're basically comparing your product against other solutions out there or existing solutions that are common, right? This is something that works great for big markets, and you can already scale to a very high level just by using this awareness stage. But where the most money is made is the problem aware and unaware, right? But problem aware, this is really where you go in front of colder audiences, and that's the hardest to convert, again, if you don't know how to do it. But this is exactly, those are the kind of awareness stages that enable you to, scale to 8 figures with ease, basically. So this is just a side note. Definitely make sure to to check that. I will also do more videos on that topic. Okay, once we have that, the validation process, at the end of that, we are already at a stage where we have working ads, right? We have winning ads that we can scale, that are profitable, right? Where we have like a very clear idea of what's the angle that we focus on, what are the creative types that we have that are working, and what is the landing page or the destination basically. Okay, so here, this is already working. That's great, right? Now the question is, how do we scale this? And this is the volume part. And that's very, very important. I know I say important a lot of times because that's an important topic. But I see so many brands just jump to this volume thing too early, right? And then I hear stuff like, yeah, you just need to do more creatives, just do more creatives. But the question is, what kind of more creatives? What type of creatives? If you don't follow such a system, you will, in most of the cases, I would say in 98%, you will just waste a ton of money running ads. Because you will produce a lot of ads that you wouldn't have produced if you had this process in place. And you will just spend a lot of money on ads that don't have any, let's say, base of working, right? If you would do this process, you wouldn't even have thought to spend money on these ads, right? So volume, do more of what's working. Very simple, right? Our goal is to 10x our creative output and make sure that we never run out of winning creatives, right? Once we found this, then it's just about, let's just go crazy with the creatives. How do we do this? Double down on winners, right? So what you do is you try to understand, why are these creatives working, right? Why are these creatives working? And then you basically pick them apart and take these learnings to create new ads and variations of the winners, okay? So here, one example. You have an ad, you can separate an ad into visual components and into the script, essentially. So visually, you can have the hook, for example, right? So you can change the first couple of seconds, like the first 3 seconds, 1 to 3 seconds, and make it more engaging just by changing the visuals. The rest of the creative stays exactly the same. Yeah, this is one way to make more variations out of a winner. Another one is to change the B-roll, right? So it's the exact same creative. The only thing you do is you change the scenes that you're using in the creative, right? So this can be an effective way to, when you have a winner, just to extend the lifetime of this winner. And I've seen this many times, again, in my own brands, in brands that I've helped scale from 40K to $1 million a month. And they're basically running the same style of creative for 6-7 months by using this, right? It's not the exact same creative, but it's basically looking at the winners, deconstructing them, and using this as an input for the creative, for the next creatives, right? So this way, they're able to run with the same style of creatives for multiple months, right? And scaling to 8 figures. Okay, so another one, use the script. Take the script apart, right? Rewrite the first couple of, the first sentence of the script. Depending on what we say in the first line of the script, we attract completely different people, right? So this is something that we can experiment with, just to make more out of the winner. Again, very simple. Another way would be just to rewrite the body, right? So everything that comes after the hook, just to rearrange the parts, add in a little bit more social proof, make the call to action stronger, right? So those are easy ways to just recreate this. Again, another way would be to take an ad that is working and to make sure, or to understand, which awareness stage am I talking to, right? Am I talking to a solution-aware audience? Okay, what could I add in the beginning, or how could I transform the script so that it's working on a problem-aware audience, right? So when you do all of these permutations, it's infinite. And I always say, like, the hard part is to find the winners. That's the hard part. So once you found them, there's another mistake that a lot of brands do. They start all over again and no, we have to do something completely different. Trust me, I've heard this a lot of times, but I'm always the one that will tell you, and I'm telling you now, if you found something that works, double down until you don't find anything else anymore. Because that shows me that you really put in the work to capitalize on this, right? And this is exactly what helps brands to scale like crazy. At some point it gets boring because you're only doing these types of creatives, but trust me, like when you do it the right way, it's super creative, right? You can take the same style of creative at some point, bring it into another angle, right? So there are infinite possibilities. Double down on winners. After that, it's establishing systems, right? So it's essentially having a creative pipeline. Very simple. It could be like a Trello board. It could be like whatever you're using, Asana, doesn't matter. A whiteboard, whatever you want. Important is that you have an overview of what are the next creatives that I want to test, right? What is my backlog? And then what are the ones that I'm doing this week? What are the ones that are in doing? And what are the ones that, when there's a review missing or something like that, they have to be reviewed. And then what are the ones that are ready? Very, very simple Kanban board. But essentially, the goal is to have optimizations of the winners and also to have net new creatives, right? So what I mean by that is to bring in fresh new creative ideas, obviously based off of what we see, the observations that we see here, and that we've made when it comes to the angles. But this is really important for the account not to be stagnant, right? We always want to have fresh new creatives so that we never lose this, possibility of serendipity to find something that all of a sudden takes over, right? So those two things are very, very crucial here. Next thing is a testing sheet, right? So this is just like a list. It's an Excel list essentially, or a Google Sheets, where you just list all of the tests that you're running. And you analyze every single week, what are the wins and what are the failures? And why do I think this creative failed? Why do I think this creative won? Because this way you're already doing parts of that, and you're going to avoid doing the stuff that doesn't work. So for example, if your brand tested like a bunch of UGC, but it just doesn't work, right? And founder ads and these product videos are just way better and they're always winning or have a way higher win rate, stop doing UGC. It's that simple, right? All of a sudden your efficiency, your win rate goes up and you're scaling at a completely different rate, right? Or just reduce these types of tests. So this is very important, again, just to like deconstruct what are you doing? Learn from the data that you get back, because this is what makes you smarter. Then the content production, right? Again, for the content production, once you identify those are the different creative types that work for me, what's the content that I need to produce them? All right. Here, be smart. Be smart. Don't be the one that is hiring a UGC creator for every single, new ad that you want to try. Or like when you need someone to jump into front of the camera to test a new ad, something is wrong. So the way to do that is really to have a modular creative system, right? Meaning you have different content buckets, right? For example, product presentation, unboxing, problem presentation, solution presentation. And then you try to fill these buckets by hiring like a handful of UGC creators, for example, if it's UGC, and you can use these content snippets over and over again and combine them with each other. this is how you can scale your creative production without scaling your content production in the same way. Because otherwise, this is going to be a huge cost factor, right? So we don't want that. Then the last point is to establish people, right? So at some point, it's all about systems of people. Once you know what to do, then it's just about putting it into systems and setting the right people in front of that. For that, very simple editor or editors. You have maybe a landing page builder, graphic designer to build these listicles and editorials if that's relevant to you. Then you have a creative strategist, key position, a media buyer eventually, and a copywriter. So what I always say is in the beginning, it depends on what stage your brand is at, right? So I work with brands that are, let's say, multi-6 figures, want to go to multi-7 figures, and I work with brands that are already 7 figures and they want to go to 8 figures. And I also work with 8-figure brands that just want to take things in-house, right? They want to get rid of agencies finally and stop spending like 30, 40 grand on an agency or multiple agencies. So what you look for, like the most important hire is the editor, right? Because this is really like you need someone dedicated to cutting your video ads and doing your static ads, whatever you need when it comes to ads, like just like a robot, right? Meaning you send over the briefs and the editor just delivers a couple of hours later, right? This is the type of editor that you need. You need a creative powerhouse, okay? I also have like in my mentorship, I also show, brands how to hire editors or how to hire any of these key persons. But that's really what you need. This is the first hire you need. Then the next thing is creative strategy, media buying, copywriting. This is something that can be like a combo role in the beginning. With my system that I teach and that works across the board, the media buying part is not so relevant anymore, right? We lay the focus on all of this, right? And basically give the machine, which is Facebook in most of the cases, we give the machine the right assets, and we did a lot of work before to validate and to make sure that we're going into the right direction. And that ultimately, or whatever we spend on the platform is contributing to our bottom line, right? So that's why like you don't need any like crazy tricks or like manual strategies and all of that stuff. This is something that comes after that, right? In my opinion. Once you have all of this set and you know exactly what needs to be done, you have enough creatives to do that, then you have a lot of value when you have someone that is like super technical and skilled and can just squeeze out the performance by 10, 20, 30%. Great. But before that, a very, very simple campaign structure. We run basically a 1 campaign, 2 campaign structure. I explained in many other videos that you can watch. That works, and these brands are making 8 figures, right? Not more than 1 or 2 campaigns. Definitely not needed, right, anymore. So that's why I say the media buying part is actually easy. I have brands that spend like 15 to 20 minutes in the ad account per week, and they're scaling every single week, right? So this is not the huge part. Creative strategist, this is this part here and this part here, right? Understanding the customer, constantly looking for what is the competition doing, what are other ad types that we can test. This is really besides the editor, like you can definitely go multi 7 figures, if not 8 figures, with an editor and a creative strategist, right? Some of these other things, you can really just, get them when you need them, right? You don't need a full-time landing page builder, for example. Well, okay, that's it. To sum it up, number 1, research. Make sure to identify the motivations, the pain points. Understand the competition. Analyze the competitive landscape. Then validate, work with hypotheses. Don't assume things, but test them. and follow this test structure that has helped me spend 20 million on paid ads. And I'm giving it to you here. That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I do on a daily basis, right? Understand awareness stages. And then once you've done all of that, that's where you push the gas. And that's where you create more volume, right? By doubling down on winners and then creating systems and putting people and systems together. Okay, I hope this was helpful. If you run an e-commerce brand and you're looking to scale this e-commerce brand and you're sick and tired of working with agencies that don't follow this process and ultimately blame, I don't know, your conversion rate or your products or whatever for their failure, then just click the link below, right? There's a link in the description where I essentially explain who I help, who I can help, who the different types of e-commerces are that I can help. And yeah, then we can scale to 8 figures if you want. All right, see you next time. Take care.